Hi, this is Robert from Lean Sherpas, and in this video I want to give you a quick overview of LeSS large-scale Scrum by presenting the different roles and artifacts and by going through the events. But I would like to start with a disclaimer. The roles, artifacts and events are only a small and not so significant part of LeSS. Knowing about the relevance of each should help you live the principles behind LeSS. Product development with LeSS starts with a person who has an idea or a vision for a product. We call this person the product owner. The product owner maintains a list of things that can later be part of the product. This list of things is called the product backlog. There's only one product backlog for each product rather than per team. Why only one product backlog for all teams? To allow teams to focus on the whole product and not just on individual items in their backlog. Also, to make it possible to prioritize at the product level. You need to be very careful about creating artificial subproducts with their own corresponding backlogs, as this may result in the optimization of subproducts or even components at the expense of sub-optimization of the overall product. In LeSS, several people create the product. These are organized into cross-functional, customer-centric teams. In LeSS, there is only one common sprint for all teams. It starts for all teams at the same time and ends with the integrated overall product. With short iterations, mostly 2 weeks, we maximize learning. In the beginning, before the sprint starts, there's a meeting called sprint planning. In LeSS, this meeting consists of 2 parts, sprint planning 1 and sprint planning 2. Sprint planning 1 in LeSS is an interactive event where all teams come together. Everyone participates in this event. But if this is hard to achieve, for example, if you have 8 teams, then 1 or 2 representatives from each team join this event. It is important to clarify that a Scrum Master is never a team representative. The representatives choose the entries their respective team will implement in the next sprint, discuss possibilities for cooperation, and clarify final questions. As they do this, they want to ensure that there is as much overlap as possible between the items they will be working on, to create many opportunities for collaboration and maximize knowledge of the product. The product owner determines the prioritization of the entries, but stays out of the discussion of the team representatives as much as possible. The teams typically carry out sprint planning 2 in parallel, each team by itself. The usual way to do sprint planning 2 is to do it with multiple teams separately at the same time in the same place. This is called multi-team sprint planning 2 in LeSS. The result of sprint planning 2 is the sprint backlog. Each team has its own sprint backlog. The sprint backlog is the plan for implementing the items in the sprint, that is, usually the list of tasks that the team will complete during the sprint to implement the items. Every day during the sprint, each team has a meeting called the Daily Scrum, where they coordinate what needs to happen next to complete the items in the sprint. LeSS discourages the concept of Scrum of Scrums, where representatives have a daily scrum, as it prefers decentralized and informal communication that is owned and coordinated by the teams. In the middle of the sprint, there is an event called Product Backlog Refinement, an event that doesn't focus on the current sprint, but on one of the future sprints. Typically, Product Backlog Refinement is performed with multiple teams, also called multi-team Product Backlog Refinement, to encourage learning and identify collaboration opportunities. Mixed groups are formed from participants from different teams who refine individual items from the product backlog at the same time in the same place and exchange their results and insights with each other. With the help of a shared definition of done, which applies to all teams, transparency is created as to which work has been completed as part of the increment. At the end of the sprint, there's a meeting called the sprint review for all teams with all team members. The purpose of the sprint review is to get feedback from stakeholders on the product increment and decide what to do next. Usually, the first part of the sprint review is organized as a bazaar, where the teams explore and discuss the new features together with stakeholders and customers. In the second part of the sprint review, the product owner leads the discussion of the feedback received and provides direction for the next sprint. After the sprint review, each team conducts its own sprint retrospective to discuss what process improvements can be made at a team level. After the team retrospectives, there's an event called Overall Retrospective. The Overall Retrospective is an event where the product owner, Scrum Master, management, and representatives from each team come together and look at the organizational issues they encountered in the last sprint and over a longer period. Together, they take improvement measures. A Scrum Master in LeSS is responsible for a well-functioning LeSS implementation. Her focus is not only on the teams, but also on the product owner, the whole organization, plus the development practices. In LeSS, a Scrum Master is a dedicated full-time role. For experienced organizations, it's okay to have one Scrum Master for up to 3 teams. In LeSS, managers are optional, but when managers exist, their focus will not be on managing the work, but on improving the capability of the product development system. Again, the LeSS flow with the roles, artifacts, and events is just one aspect of LeSS, something that shouldn't be in the foreground. Nevertheless, they help you bring the LeSS principles to life, which is the key aspect of LeSS. To find out more about LeSS and organizational design, please subscribe to our channel and check out our other videos.